We got to start talking about a offense. Jim Harbaugh is in trouble with the NCAA again. And is this trouble? So many people on Twitter today were trying to tell me I'm making far too much out of sign stealing in college football. Here's the issue. Jim Harbaugh is being investigated by the NCAA along with Michigan football. And the allegations are that Jim Harbaugh sent advanced scouts, essentially personnel from Michigan, went to opponents' games and took part in activities to steal their signs from the sideline to the players. And if you did not know this, advanced scouting has been illegal in college football since 1994. And at first it was a cost-cutting measure. The schools didn't want to pay to send people on the road to scout their opponents. But now a lot of it is centered around the fact that people believe sign stealing is prolific in college sports. But here's the problem. Sign stealing is not illegal by the letter of the law. Sending somebody ahead to scout your team and steal their scouts or steal their signs, highly illegal. Jake, is this a big deal or much ado about nothing?
Well, I think that track record comes into play here, and I think that's why it's a big deal. I think that, yeah, this is clearly not like the end of the world violation, in NCAA land, but I think that it just kind of speaks to the type of head coach that Jim Harbaugh is. It speaks to the kind of program that you want to run, which is one that's not, up to snuff. It's not run clean. It's not run the right way. And before a Michigan fan wants to take out all their, swords and die on the hill of Jim Harbaugh, I don't care if everyone else is doing it. Not everybody else is getting caught. And that's the difference. It always seems like Jim Harbaugh is right in the middle of this thing. And before we say, oh, well, who cares? Who cares? They just hate Jim Harbaugh. Well, then if they hate Jim Harbaugh, then what else are you going to say about all the other violations? Did they hate Kirby with all the super speeder tickets? Was it personal then? Because I don't think it's personal now. I think this has to do with the guy in Jim Harbaugh who regularly finds himself in the middle of NCAA violations. And even the most committed, the most loyal Michigan fan can't deny the fact that he's constantly being investigated. So I know that Michigan fans going to show up today and say, oh man, this is not much to do about nothing. And they're just coming after him and everyone hates Michigan or us. Cause I know you're on the team too. Like I at some point we have to come to the middle and say that, hey, you got caught again, right? You were recruiting in the COVID dark window. Can't do that. You got caught. Nobody else.
But it's not
did.
even that Jim Harbaugh was recruiting in the COVID dark period. He was recruiting in person. Remember that the allegations include Jim Harbaugh scouting players over Zoom calls. It just blatant disregard, allegedly, for the rules in the NCAA. And that, if true, is exactly what he's accused of with this sign stealing thing. And I think when you look at the letter of the law, I think it is pretty remarkable that you're looking at a situation where Jim Harbaugh, if you believe the NCAA, just said, screw it, we're gonna send people ahead and we're gonna steal their signs. And the funny thing is that you have coaches who have been hinting at this. We now know Greg Schiano at Rutgers, one of them, where we know that people have believed Michigan was doing this. And here's the thing that Michigan fan can't get away from. You have a guy in Jim Harbaugh who could not win a big game, who really wasn't doing much and was on his way out of Ann Arbor. And then all of a sudden something changed. And now you've beaten Ohio State twice in a row, including at the Shoe. Now all of a sudden you're winning big games where you couldn't even sniff a big game victory. And you were going to get fired. And all of a sudden now you're just winning everything. And what do we have? Recruiting violations, alleged recruiting violations, alleged, scouting and sign stealing, illegalities. These are not coincidental.
Yeah.
And if you have watched this show for any amount of time, you know that I am not a Jim Harbaugh fan. I covered Jim at Stanford and then at the San Francisco 49ers. He does, in my opinion, not treat people well. In my experience, his players don't like him. He has a very short window in time where he captures a player's imagination and gets them to run through brick walls for him. And then there is almost an immediate burnout factor. We've seen that now. And he went through that exact same thing at Michigan. But instead of picking up and running to a new job, he may have allegedly started recruiting violations, taking part in recruiting violations. And now we see that the NCAA is investigating him for illegalities around sign stealing and advanced scouting.
Yeah, and I just don't know why we want to die on the hill for this guy. I mean, it's not like, I could totally understand it. Like if you were in Georgia's position, totally get it. Hey, we've won back-to-back national championships. We're rolling. We're the guy in college football right now. Like Jim's doing everything Jim can do. Okay, at that point, then I would be like, yeah, like, hey, die on the hill for this guy. Who cares about the violations? Until they come down on him, it doesn't really matter, right? But the problem is the winning's not there. Just because you beat Ohio State a couple times doesn't mean you've gotten over the hump in terms of like, your program.
Not getting blown out in the college football playoff last year.
Right? Like,
and you look at, I think there's some very damning details in this statement from the Big Ten. Late Wednesday afternoon, the Big Ten Conference in Michigan were notified by the NCAA that the NCAA was investigating allegations of sign stealing by the University of Michigan football program. The Big Ten Conference has notified Michigan State and future opponents. The Big Ten Conference considers the integrity of competition to be of the utmost of importance and will continue to monitor the investigation. The conference will have no further comment on this. So you go from that to the athletic director at Michigan, Ward Manuel, who said, I want to personally assure you that the University of Michigan Athletics will offer its complete cooperation to the NCAA. Michigan, all of us are committed to the highest standards of ethics and integrity. There's those words again from all members of the community. This is the same expectation I have for coaches, staff, student athletes. Given the ongoing investigation, I'll have no further comment at this time. And you just start to realize that we're not talking about like some small thing. We're talking about the ethics and integrity. They are accusing Jim Harbaugh of stealing signs, which led to victories.
Right.
That's what those statements are saying. And I think here we are again with Michigan, a proud institution that, let's be brutally honest about it. I can tell you firsthand as a Notre Dame fan, Michigan doesn't win big games. Michigan, Lloyd Carr splitting a national championship wasn't good enough. He got run out, right? I mean, and you can go back through the history of time, whether it's Bo Schembechler or Rich Rod or whoever you want to point to, it just was never good enough. And all of a sudden you start winning at a higher level, and arguably Jim Harbaugh is winning at the highest level in the modern era of Michigan football by beating Ohio State 2 years in a row and going to the college football playoff. And all of a sudden, what do you have? Recruiting violations, and now you're cheating by advanced scouting and sign stealing.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. And I think that, we haven't really heard about a lot of this stuff in college football. I can't tell you the last time I heard about some sign stealing scandal. I mean, really, honestly, in football, the last time we heard about it was with the Patriots. I mean, we all remember that. Yeah. And I think that,
but you also have to remember, sign stealing is not illegal in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in where you get in trouble, it is this exact scenario. And one of the things that blows my mind is, as I described to you what Jim Harbaugh and Michigan football is accused of doing, ask yourself, well, how did they get caught, man? Because this is really hard to get caught. You can, on a game day in your stadium or wherever you're playing, if you can steal your opponent's signs, that's not illegal. If you can watch them signal plays back and forth, steal the signs, not illegal. But what's illegal is sending your buddy Fred ahead, somebody, because it's probably not a Michigan staffer, I wouldn't think. Send them to a stadium where, let's say, Ohio State's playing. Send them to the Shoe or send them to a road game. And have them monitor the Ohio State sideline and either record on video or on paper what their signs are. Well, they showed a banana and a zebra and the state of Texas. And then they ran a reverse toss sweep throwback to the quarterback. That's illegal.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. But here's my question. How did you get caught, dude? How did you get caught? So you can't tell me that Jim Harbaugh is an unintelligent person. Trust me when I say he is not. He is maniacally intelligent. You can't tell me that he sent somebody let's send Fred, the analytics guy, send him in a Michigan jumpsuit with a telephoto lens and, have him sit 55 rows up at the 50-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really think they didn't do that? If you believe some of the allegations floating around, they allegedly sent somebody to a game. I'm going to guess they sent Jimmy, the truck driver, or the garbage man,
right,
to see, let's say, Michigan State, because that's who people are mentioning. They sent them to East Lansing, probably dressed in Michigan State garb, and holding a pair of binoculars. But somehow you got caught. Do you know how rando it has to be for you to get caught? Please tell me. Please, Jimmy, tell me you did not send somebody in khakis, a Michigan polo shirt, wearing glasses with a telephoto lens.
Please.
Singularly alone, sitting in a seat somewhere in a visitor stadium.
I want better fucking execution.
Dude, how did you get caught? Right? Because how would you even?
I was thinking about this, and I was like, the person you sent, okay, so if they're not in, so if they're in wherever you sent them, Michigan State is the example we're using. All right, so you sent them on the road to see a Michigan State home game.
Right.
Okay, dress them up in Michigan State stuff. They got binoculars. Okay, cool. But then they must have had something else in their possession. They must have had
a big giant red flag.
Yeah, like this big ass binder to write in, or
like a telescope. You know what I mean? They're they're up in the top deck with a telephoto lens just fixed on Ryan Day.
Can you see me now?
Just fixed on him. And they probably have a flag in a banner that says "Go Big Blue," and they're wearing like a Michigan Wolverines pullover from Starter.
Buddy rolls up in a Michigan helmet with the Wolverine symbol on his head. Like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know. Like the other scenario that I came up with, not even saying this is what happened, but maybe somebody got caught in an area of the stadium they shouldn't have been in. Maybe it was a thing where you sent this person in, and they tried to get up into the press box, maybe, or like an area off to the side, like an elevated area where.
Do you see how stupid this is?
Yeah, I agree. The biggest question here is how you got caught, because it's so easy not to.
We're talking about something that's not illegal unless you do it a very specific way.
Yeah.
Again, I want to make this really clear. Sign stealing is not illegal in college football. It's not illegal, right? Like, I think we have some Justin Fields tape of Justin Fields talking about Dabo Swinney and Clemson stealing signs.
Hey, Justin, can you talk a little bit about how you all signaled in the plays during the game this time? Looked like you did a little more traditional huddle as opposed to what we've normally seen throughout the year. So if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we just didn't want them stealing our signals. And that's pretty much why we huddled up a little bit more than we usually do.
Like, what? Are you serious? You can do that. Dabo Swinney can do that. And that's the thing that's so amazing to me is sign stealing's not illegal. You have to send somebody to another stadium, which is illegal because, again, sending scouts ahead has been illegal since 1994. And that person has to be there for the purpose of stealing signs. That's the only way stealing signs in college football is illegal. And then, even if you do all of that, you have to get caught doing that. So to be in the position that Michigan is in, you have to be really stupid. That's why it is a little surprising to me that Michigan's in this situation, because I just don't view Jim Harbaugh as stupid.
Yeah.
But I also want to say it's a little annoying to me that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, this feels like There's 1,000 other things we could be talking about, but what is the biggest story in college football today?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. And you know why this is a big story? Because Jim Harbaugh's on the way out at Michigan.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think the track record is the biggest thing here. I mean,
It is.
the story in and of itself. I mean, it's not like he's, this is nowhere near as bad. If, again, allegedly, right? We always have to say that, but if this actually went down, I mean, this is nowhere near as bad as the recruiting stuff that allegedly happened. I mean, this is, that's not the point though. The point is that, hey, yeah, the recruiting, you are being investigated for that recruiting stuff. And now this is going on. And I do have to say, and hey, maybe I'm a hater and I'm open to that. And I'm happy to wear that badge today. But when you said, hey, oh, well, all of a sudden you beat Ohio State a couple times. Now all this stuff is coming out. It's like, yeah, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense to me, man. Like, you beat someone who you have zero track record of beating. And now after that, what's all come out? And I just think it's unfortunate because I think Michigan, from a college football playoff resume standpoint, and I know we don't consider last year, even though we do consider last year, like you needed those wins. But now if I'm on the playoff committee, I am saying, yeah, man, what do we think of this? Like, how real or how legit is it?
I also think Michigan is in a position where now you have to start asking yourself if Jim Harbaugh is damaging your reputation, because you're finally winning games at a very high level. You went to the college football playoff, not to be redundant, but you beat Ohio State twice in a row, and you have recruiting violations, and now you're being accused of sign stealing and advanced scouting, which it's ridiculous to me. Yeah. I think he absolutely is. There is no doubt about that. But Delaric is going to start the show by saying hurtful things. Mm-hmm. You're paying $2 to stab me in the heart here. Jim is just getting ready for the Bears next year,
dude.
Thank you.
Why would you do that?
Oh, because I think it's very plausible. It's very plausible. All my Bears friends, all my Bears Twitter, everybody's talking about it. That Jim Harbaugh is going to be the leading candidate because Matt Eberflus is going to get fired. And he's going to get fired. He's been a terrible head coach for the Chicago Bears. He's going to get whacked. And Jim Harbaugh I would not hire Jim, but he would be a perfectly fine candidate. And the thing is, I don't even care if they hire him because he'll be there a year, maybe two. He pisses people off.
Yeah.
And you're going to win because he is going to run a bunch of dudes out, and he is going to have a culture of if you are 10 minutes early, you are 15 minutes late, dude. Like you're going to be on time. You're going to be in the building. You're going to perform at a high level, or Jim is going to not play you until you ask to be traded or cut. And that's just the way he is. It's putting Colin Kaepernick in. He was very matter of fact about it with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith in San Francisco. I was in the locker room the day he did it. That team was never the same. It was never the same. And I think that's the moment that Jim got run out. He wanted a dual threat quarterback, which Alex Smith was not, but Colin Kaepernick was not ready to lead a team to the highest levels, and he could not make a throw in the Super Bowl to win the game.
Yeah.
They had every opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and it went away because Colin just wasn't ready. And Alex Smith went on. Obviously, he had a really good career after San Francisco, but he wasn't probably a Super Bowl quarterback in San Francisco, but Jim's just a red ass. And a lot of people get worn out by Jim Harbaugh at a very high pace.
Yeah.
So if the Bears hire him, hey, I understand it. I don't love it. I understand it, but it is what it is. All right. Less of us, more of you. As always, the comment section is brought to you by Bucked Up, the official energy drink of the Monty Show. Every day at this time, we hit the buck shot from Bucked Up. It's a great product, you guys. Get it right now at buckedup.com. Make sure you use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout. And I'll tell you, of all the free samples that we have, Buckshot is by far the number one free sample, and everybody always asks us for it. If you want it in the comment section, maybe we can bring it back next week. I don't know, but it is a great product. This month alone, I think we put out over 300 samples of Buckshot. In the description below, you're going to see a link to get a free shaker cup and 3 free samples from Bucked Up. Go get that. And I just can't say enough. Again, this morning, did I want to get out of bed and work out? I didn't. But you hit that, you hit the bucked up, racked BCAs, put the 6-point, creatine in there, and you go do a back workout, man. That's what it's all about. That's what bucked up does. It helps you do what needs to get done because they put exceptional ingredients to make exceptional products that do exactly what they say they're going to do, just like Buckshot. 200 milligrams of caffeine, a bunch of brain food to get you through the rest of your day that apparently is do you even lift, bro?
Do you even lift it?
Do you even lift, bro?
What are we doing here? Come on now. I know you do.
What do you bench?
Hey.
Do
Man,
you
that
even lift?
one was a little more difficult to get open, but there we go. 200 milligrams of caffeine, a bunch of brain food. And what brain food means basically is it's a bunch of supplements that help your brain function at a higher level. And there's no spikes of energy and no huge drops. It just lets you be the best version of yourself so you can have the best days, the best end to your days. You got a conference call coming up. You got a pivot table or an Excel spreadsheet or a report you got to get done. Hook it up. Buckshot from buckedup.com. Man, it's so good when it's cold.
Man, it's smooth today, baby. Smooth.
So good. I'm a watermelon guy. I am. I had been on a blue Raz run, which is really good, but I am a watermelon guy. Buckshot from buckedup.com. Let's get your comments in here today. Brandon Butler, a member on the show for 9 months.
Bro, Brandon
Butler, appreciate you. Dude, if you need to steal signs to beat that schedule, you don't deserve to be a head coach at any college, let alone a P5. And I think you're looking at a situation where you're talking about Ohio State. You're talking about the college football playoff. You're talking about these big games that they have. I highly doubt he's worried about Minnesota. Hey, we don't know, but maybe it was systematic and they went to every university on their schedule. Who knows? But Jim Harbaugh had built a reputation at Michigan of not winning big games, not performing against Ohio State. Just out of the blue, all of a sudden, started winning those big games, started beating Ohio State. And then the recruiting violations, and now these allegations of sign stealing. I don't think it's a coincidence. I truly don't. Aaron Wilson gifts a Monty Show membership. Aaron, thank you.
Appreciate you, dude.
You're supposed, there you go. Hey!
Sorry about that. Not bad.
Aaron, appreciate you very much. Thank you. Tanner Plummer, Harbaugh to Utah Tech. Monty wouldn't know what to do with himself if Jim came to St. George to coach the still sleeping Giant. You can mock Utah Tech all you want. I mean, I see it's comments like this that I think show you can mock, but when you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to mock things and you're going to look like a fool. If you don't understand the level of investment and development that's going on in that WAC group, including Utah Tech, keep mocking, dude. Keep mocking. And then when they're making more money than they've ever made and they have better facilities than they've ever had and things like women's soccer and men's football and all of their, like, just go look at it, man. But just keep mocking, dude. It's all good. Brian Parrish, Michigan should not just fire Harbaugh, but the NCAA should bring back the death penalty, but say that they can never have football ever again in life. Well, I mean, they let Penn State play football again. Not really sure this raises to the level.
Yeah, I don't think this is a death penalty situation.
Yeah. Jimmy Otson, what's up, Jimmy? What? The Patriots don't like cheaters? Who knew?
Whatever.
Who knew? Hey, the mayor of Monty Town, Jeremy Bolton, Tanner Plummer, my thoughts exactly. Hey, man. Everybody mocks over the sleeping giant, Utah Tech. How long are they going to be a sleeping giant? By the way, if they're such a terrible, awful athletic department, how come they took BYU to the limit last year? I wonder. Yeah, we don't talk about truths, though. Aaron Wilson, I only use the finest allergy medication to make my meth. Okay. I mean, you know. Christopher Shannon, didn't sign stealing from TCU, I guess. Yeah, that didn't work against TCU.
That's what I mean. Like,
no, it did not.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, dude.
Yeah. I would agree. Let's see. Jimmy says the Bears love Big Ten castoffs. Thank you. Kevin Warren. Thank you. No, I'm not going to the. No, you're not.
Don't
Jimmy,
play those games, dude.
I'm not. You're not going to bait me into a Bears it's not going to happen. The NCAA is a joke. Always has been, always will be. There needs to be a divorce of football in the NCAA fast. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Cougar tracks, are the signs in English? No, I believe they're in Bulgarian. I could be wrong. And maybe Latin. Wait. Everyone sign steals in games is legal. But what is Michigan being accused of sending off the field staffers to scout in person an opponent's game, which is very illegal?
Yeah.
It is hugely illegal to send people and have them try to steal signs in advance.
Because it's illegal.
And my other question is, why are you allowing sign stealing to happen? Put the speaker in the helmet and let's go about our business.
Yeah.
I mean, the technology's there very clearly with the NFL. One helmet on offense, one helmet on defense. It's not that difficult. I don't understand why are we not? It's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
More than 20 years the NFL has had this ability. Is sign stealing a problem in the NFL? No, not really. Like why, NBA commissioner salty drunk. This topic is stupid. Okay, well, I don't think it's a stupid topic. I truly do not. I'm telling you. AAR, Jim Harbaugh to the Bears is perfect. Maybe. Mike Smith, would you send a hand signal to Jim? What kind would it be? This is a family show.
Mm-hmm.
This is a family show. Boyd Blake, Bears will go after the Jets, DC. We don't. No. I'm not doing it.
Breaking news. The Bears hired another defensive-minded head coach. Who knew?
Scott of Greywater, this just seems like Ohio State being butthurt and using their media power and manipulation. It's not Ohio State. I don't believe it's Ohio State. I think it is a large number of universities because there's a bunch of video and it's copyrighted, so we can't play it. But there's, again, Greg Schiano, like there's a number of coaches who have referenced oddities going on. This has been an open secret for at least a year.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that needs to be said here, and for the comments about blowing this out of proportion or whatever, right? Like this conversation's only happening because more than one person has complained. You need to understand that, right? Like the NCAA isn't going to go full on public investigation if Ohio State was leveraging their media control. Like that's not how this works. And I think that the thing that needs to be said is it's not about how many people are doing this. I have no doubt that most successful college football programs are probably doing this. That's not what this is about. This is about getting caught. The rules are the rules. Now, how are you going to get around the rules? That's just as simple as it is.
And
that's how it is.
I would also remind you, part of the film that college coaches get, this is the most bizarre part. Do you guys understand the level of film that colleges are provided? They are given detailed film for every team that they play, including coach and sideline camera angles. They're given that tape. It's out there. Do you understand that every broadcast, there's a camera fixed on both sidelines? Every broadcast. You don't have to go to games to steal their signs, dude. They're on tape. They're giving it to you. So why are you doing this?
I want it.
I don't know. Gumby fresh out. Alex Smith wasn't a dual threat quarterback, not to the level of Colin Kaepernick.
No.
Colin Kaepernick was a Mustang. That dude can run.
Yeah, and I think it was a classic situation of nobody was saying Cap was better overall than Alex Smith was. I think, and obviously you were there, but I think the conversation was much more that Jim wanted a firecracker back there. Jim wanted someone that could kind of break the game open when the offense couldn't really get it going.
Yes.
And I think that was the hard part in San Francisco because the boys were behind Alex Smith for obvious reasons. But Colin Kaepernick was this guy at that time who was super athletic and was regarded as a dual threat, but it was well known that, hey, yeah, he's a prolific runner, but he can't throw it accurately because his mechanics suck. That was the issue. So yeah, it's fitting that the undoing ultimately was he couldn't make that throw in the Super Bowl because
Correct.
Again, That throw, like Richard Sherman was beat. He had him. They beat him. And it was only because Cap couldn't deliver.
Well, even on the goal line against who did they play in that Super Bowl?
I think it was the Ravens.
It was the Ravens.
Yeah.
The Ravens in the Superdome. Remember the power went out?
Yeah.
And he had Crabtree, and all he had to do was fade it over his shoulder, and he couldn't get it there. Like it's wild to me that he just Alex Smith was the more ready quarterback. Jim Harbaugh wanted Colin Kaepernick to succeed. He did. Jeff Woodworth, Harbaugh will be dating our mother next year. He will not.
No.
Sean Mierzinski, Harbaugh to the Chargers has a nice ring to it. I think Jim Harbaugh, the problem is he's a better fit in college, but I truly think by the time this is over, the NCAA is going to drop a show cause on him. I think the allegations and the way the NCAA Committee on Infractions is treating this is not just a slap on the wrist, go about your business. They're going to suspend him after this season, which is why I think he's going to leave. And I think they will put a 2-year show cause on him. And that means that as a university, you're going to have to pay penalties to hire Jim Harbaugh.
And I don't think, by the way, there were a lot of people saying, oh, well, man, if this is true, the NFL is never going to hire this guy. Couldn't be further from the truth.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, I think the NFL doesn't give a damn what you do in college. See Urban Meyer, right? Like, they don't care what you did at the college level. If you can win ball games, you're going to coach the team.
Yeah, I truly don't think it matters. Ryan Willie for $5. NCAA should ban Harbaugh for being a coach for 10 years. I think that's probably harsh.
Yeah.
The problem, I think the biggest issue for Jim Harbaugh and the NCAA is that he was not forthright and honest, according to the NCAA. He deferred, he deflected, he refused to sit for interviews. And then when he did sit for interviews, he was allegedly not forthcoming. They know the answer to the question before they ask you. So if you're going to lie to a prosecutor, if you're going to lie in a deposition, just don't go, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. It's every single time.
Yeah.
And Jim Harbaugh knows that. So why he was not forthcoming? I mean, dude, it was the COVID period. You were recruiting over Zoom. Oh, and if that wasn't bad enough, not only, and when I say recruiting, he was watching workouts allegedly over Zoom calls. And he was meeting with recruits in person during the COVID dark period. Like, just things you blatantly are aware you cannot be doing.
Yeah, and I think that, guys like Jim Harbaugh, when they want to play the game the way that Jim does, right? And I'm not making it personal with Jim. I'm not gonna go down that road. I'm just gonna take him at what we know he's alleged to have done. Hey, if you're going to do stuff like that, then you damn well better have some sort of backup fabricated plan as to why you were doing it. And I think that's the game he's playing. He understands.
Yes.
Like, again, I don't love this, but I really feel like it's the reality of college athletics. Like, hey, again, you have the rules, but that doesn't mean they're stopping anybody, right? All that means is, hey, so if I'm going to do X and it's going to violate Y, how long do I have from the time I did X to when the NCAA is trying to run me down for Y? That's the game in college athletics. And the guys who never get caught are the ones that are winning regularly. And that's what no one wants to talk about. I'm not saying that Kirby and Nick are regularly breaking rules, but there's a reason they've gotten to where they got. It's not because they followed every rule to the letter of the law.
I don't believe that any staff follows every rule.
Yeah.
But it's the guys who just think that they're better. Herm Edwards.
Yeah, perfect example.
I mean, you broke every possible rule that you could. I think Herm Edwards and his staff, in my opinion, went through a rule book and were like, all right, says here we can't go advanced scout in person.
Because
right,
it's illegal.
Charlie, look at the schedule and pick the 5 games you want to go to of our opponents. We'll send you out ahead of those games.
I don't break the rules.
Like, I think they intentionally. How else do you explain it?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. How else do you explain Jim Harbaugh meeting in person with recruits during the COVID dark period, watching workouts on Zoom? How else do you explain that other than, I'm Jim Harbaugh? They've seen,
defense.
Bro, they know I wear khakis What are they going to do about it?
And that last
Come
line
on.
there is what I think Jim lives and dies on. What
Come
are you
on.
going to do about it? Because again,
Oh, I thought you meant that he wears khakis.
well,
My bad.
I mean, that's he's made khakis iconic. Jesus. But I think that whole concept of, hey, what are they going to do about it? Because it's not what you did. It's what they can prove you did. So they can prove Mel Tucker did what Mel Tucker did, which is why he got fired. But they clearly haven't been able to substantiate and prove, just exactly what's gone on here. And I'm telling you, that's the game.
It is wild.
That is the game.
Hey, Brandon Butler, appreciate you. Gifted 10 memberships. Wait,
I just got to flip pages here, man. I'm trying.
Do you not know right where that drop is?
I do. It just takes a second. Dude, I've got 600 drops here, bro.
Sorry,
Things.
Sausage fingers, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Aaron Wilson says buckshot is legit. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely, buckshot's legit. And there it is. Like, it's just, I'm feeling it.
Hey,
like,
you just feel good, dude.
Yeah. Kevin the Destroyer. Ooh, new logo from Kevin the Destroyer
nice
today.
Logo, dude.
For the should-be #1 Oklahoma Sooners. Jim just bucked up his tenure at Michigan. See what he did there.
So it's like he, curse worded up his tenure, but it's bucked up. That's that's what he did.
The Bears need the entire Utah Tech team. We do. They're better than Teddy Wayman. We don't want Jim in New England. I don't know.
Who do you want? Because you need somebody.
I mean, I legit think we're looking at the end of Bill Belichick. I don't. I mean, Teddy, the most passionate.
We're really focused on Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, the most passionate New England fan. You can't even deny that. I think it's tough to argue that. My fear for New England is that you're going to replace Bill Belichick and you're going to run through like 5 dudes. Like you're garbage. You're that chick that just got divorced and you are ready to get back out on the road.
Well, and I think
you're going to run through like
ownership. There's never had to deal with a losing program.
5 dudes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You're right. Hey, okay. Tom Brady's gone. He's busy taking a piece of other NFL franchises and other WNBA teams that just won a championship. So that's over with. Hey, Bill, it's time. We'll see you later. If you want to be an advisor here, you're more than welcome. That type of situation. When's the last time New England had to deal with a losing football product? Because the last time I checked, it's been like 20 years.
Yep. Stan, is the Michigan situation a little bit like charging Hunter with a misdemeanor prostitution charge? Okay. I mean, different show, man. Different show. Tarrant County boy, hemorrhoids. Well, man, how bad was that for Arizona State? And the athletic director did not lose his job.
I knew today would be shitty.
Which is wild. Phil Venzer says Vegas Aces back-to-back.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like pocket aces, right? Jim Choi, if USC was relevant the past decade, the Pac-12 is still a top conference. Totally agree. But you can't hire safe coaches and win national championships because all of the elite coaches are like elite goaltenders.
Yes.
They're flipping weirdos. They're difficult to deal with. Jim Harbaugh's an elite coach he doesn't win, but he's an elite coach, right? Yeah. Nick Saban. Kirby Smart, all SRT, like Dabo Sweeney ripping Clemson bandwagon fans. Like, what is wrong with you, dude?
It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
But he won a championship and the guy's elite. You look at the best coaches in the country, so you don't have to look at Jimbo Fisher, but look at other coaches.
Marcus Freeman.
You don't have to look at Marcus Freeman. You look at the best coaches in the country, look at the best coaches in the NFL. They're all weirdos, dude.
Yeah.
They are all weird dudes. Andy Reid's not a normal dude. I mean.
Hell, Pete Carroll.
I was going to say Bill Belichick, but it was Tom Brady. But the rule applies for. Okay, it's awkward now.
Okay.
Drew Money. Remember when Harbaugh smacked the Lions? Jim Schwartz, my God. I haven't thought about that in a long, long time. That's amazing. Tarrant County boy says 600 and he only plays about 5 of them. Your drops. I think you play a lot.
No, I play a lot of drops, bro.
Yep. Cow Turd, Tarrant County boy says, all right, let's go. Where's Cow Turd? Where is it?
Cow Turd.
There it is. See? Now my guy's up. He's ready.
Yeah.
Raider Mark says, I've never done X. Okay, well, I'm happy for you.
I use Twitter, so I get it, dude.
You know. Teddy Wayman, I think we need to just rip it all down and start over. They can start with getting the number 1 pick and getting a quarterback. Well, I mean, this goes back to the conversation we've had 1,000 times on this show. Now, Mac Jones or Bill Belichick, who's the problem? And I have to think that it's Bill Belichick because I just don't think you're talented enough. It's weird to say it, but you're just not talented enough on either side of the football. Your top 50 guys on that roster are not. There's a lot of those dudes that wouldn't make other NFL rosters.
Yeah, and I think the real problem is like I agree with that, and the other issue is Mac Jones isn't talented enough in a new system to push you forward. I just think, again, it was inevitability. Like if Robert Kraft, and it came out that Robert Kraft allegedly has had conversations about moving on from Bill well before this time, and if I was him, I'd have been thinking about this as soon as the retirement rumors started with Tom. You always knew.
I agree.
You always knew as soon as Tom left that system was going to be totally different because they were just such a partnership on the field. Like, dominant defense paired with a guy on offense who's essentially a second head coach for your team. Like, that's really hard to beat. So when you lose half of that, okay, it's time to start a new chapter in New England. I don't know if you're Robert Kraft, where you're at on how Bill Belichick leaves the organization, because I don't think it's proper, even with how bad they've been, to treat him like just any run-of-the-mill coach. This is not fire you on Monday material.
He is arguably the most successful head coach in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. So
let's not forget that. Marcus Aurelius Maximus. Okay. Allegations investigating unnamed sources reported. That's not at all what this is with Harbaugh. That's not what this is. There will be no evidence presented to the public until mid-2024. Kind of a joke. This comes out days before Jim Harbaugh signs a contract. I'm assuming you're a Michigan fan, but here's what you can't get away from. When the NCAA informs you they are investigating you, they present you evidence. And they say, we're investigating you for advanced scouting and sign stealing. Here's why we're doing that.
Yeah.
So they know why they're doing that. They don't make it public because they haven't finished their investigation, and there is a chance, I think it's a very small chance, that it goes away. It's not going to go away. But you can no longer say this thing about Harbaugh with, like, look at the COVID recruiting violations. There's all kinds of evidence.
Yeah.
There are all kind of witnesses. The Committee on Infractions was willing to give him essentially a free pass, and then he allegedly lied to them and was not honest with them and was not forthright with them and would not, basically acquiesce and say, yeah, okay, here's what happened. And so Michigan said, yeah, we'll give you 3 games. I think he is, after this season, this thing with the sign stealing is not even the biggest issue.
No.
I think they're going to drop a year suspension on him after this season. And I think he is, I truly believe this will be the end of the end at Michigan. This contract extension that Harbaugh's allegedly going to sign at Michigan, I'd love to see the out language in it. The buyouts, the guarantees.
The school protections.
Is it Mel Tucker-like, or is it, hey, no matter what, it doesn't matter why, it's fully guaranteed, no cut?
Jimbo Fisher-like.
We're going to pay you no matter what you did, which would be highly irregular at this point because they know exactly what he did. That's a thing, like, with all due respect, Lord Ruler Maximus Aurelius,
Yeah.
The problem is they know exactly what Jim Harbaugh did. Michigan's well aware of it. It's not allegations anymore. It's not sources anymore. They know. So I think it'll be interesting to see exactly how they handle him. AAR, guaranteed Michigan Wolverines were worried about Rutgers University. But even it's on YouTube. If you go back and watch Greg Schiano talking about, hey, there's stuff going on here.
Yeah.
I think he said something like there's stuff that's not right is going on here.
During his halftime interview, headed into the locker room.
Yeah.
He said there were some irregularities.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Leach doing the weather, Leach marriage advice, etc. Mike Leach was a gem. I mean, he did, as we talked about in the members only group, he did lock a kid in a Connex box. You know, that pissed off Craig James because it was his kid. But Mike, another perfect example, Mike Leach, an elite head coach that's a flipping weirdo.
Yeah.
That's an odd dude. Like he is not a normal dude. Land Thieves says Jimbo Fisher to the maize and blue. My God. Who do you, in the comment section, is Jim Harbaugh a year from now the head coach at Michigan? I'm very curious about that.
I still maintain if you're Michigan, it's all about what the investigators can prove, because what you're not going to argue is Jim Harbaugh has Michigan football relevant, even though, in my opinion, you haven't won enough big games. That's just my opinion, though. The reality is they are relevant. They are they're a top 3 team in the nation all year long. Like, he's got you going in the right direction from a notoriety standpoint. But it really is a question of, like, hey, how far down the black hole are we going to go with NCAA investigations, and how much risk is there to the school?
Do you guys think Michigan wants Jim Harbaugh? I think they're desperate. I think because how do you replace a guy like Jim Harbaugh? What do you say to your boosters, your fans, your alumni? Because he's going to, let's say he stays in Ann Arbor, he's going to get hammered by the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to get a 1-year suspension.
And that's why I say this is such a philosophical conversation, because if Michigan's standpoint is, hey, we love Jim, we know that he sort of rides that line of legal, illegal in terms of recruiting and some of the behaviors in the program, but he's got the program at the top of the stack. Like, we're in a great place. Philosophically, you're saying, hey, we're willing to deal with the blowback that might potentially come with this. Then, he's going to be there. But if Michigan is much more in the camp of, hey, this is too much exposure to, the institution itself. Like, we don't want, like, this is starting to harm the Michigan, just the brand of Michigan overall, then maybe he won't. And that's the thing I think is a huge question mark. I mean, obviously they like Jim, or else they wouldn't have hired him, and you wouldn't have, saying they put up with his crap is a little strong, but you wouldn't have absorbed, some of the stuff you've had to absorb if you didn't like the guy. So I do think they like him, but it really comes down to how much exposure and risk you're willing to take on the brand.
Yeah, and I just don't think that it's worth. I don't know how Michigan would replace Jim Harbaugh. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because he is a big name. He's an alum. He is Captain America. He is.
Yeah.
How do you replace that guy? Who do you replace him with? I just don't know. You're not calling Urban Meyer.
No.
Right? I mean, who do you even replace him with? That's the thing that I think is so difficult. Are you going to call, who's a recent NFL guy? Cliff Kingsbury? Cliff Kingsbury's not going to Michigan to replace Jim Harbaugh.
No.
That doesn't feel like the right guy.
Cliff Kingsbury is a warm weather coach, my man.
Right? I just don't know. I just don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
Phenomenal Hebrew. Every time there's an illegal act like this Michigan scandal, you all got Penn State in your mouth. Penn State already paid their penalty. You're never paying your penalty.
Yeah.
You're never paying a penalty for that. They knew for decades, and they facilitated it for decades, and they did nothing about it for decades. There's no paying your penalty for that. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing.
Yeah, you don't go back on that.
Penn State should not have a football program. Penn State should not have Happy Valley. Penn State should not have athletics because they don't deserve it. Because you don't unwind the watch. You don't put the cow back in the barn.
Yeah. And speaking of Penn State, they've got one of the most infamous incidents with Michigan football. We all remember the tunnel brawl. Like, let's not forget. Like, I just don't understand why it's so difficult to say, hey, you sure, okay, they impose penalties on Penn State and certain individuals are in jail. Okay, cool. That's not going to unwind the clock of what they did for 30 years, dude. So stop defending Penn State. Stop. And by the way, and this is why I always say to all the Michigan defenders too, don't talk to me about other programs. This isn't about other programs. Lincoln Riley isn't being accused of recruiting violations. Neither is Jimbo, neither is Saban, neither is Kirby Smart, neither is Sonny Dykes, neither is anybody in the Big 12. No, it's you. So stop running away from that and just say, hey, yeah, you know what? And I would respect Michigan fans so much more for this take. You know what? You guys are right. Yeah, Jim has some issues. There's no doubt. There's baggage that comes with Jim Harbaugh. But yeah, we have beat Ohio State. Yeah, we are at the top of the stack. And that's a better place for us to be in than where we were under Rich Rod.
Dude, it's awfully difficult to get away from the scandal-ridden history of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And there is no bigger scandal than Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno at Penn State. And I don't even hate Penn State. I just, again, just telling you what I've been through, like having been on the radio the night that Sandusky thing came down,
man,
like it was unbelievable. And they really never took action. Penn State, in my opinion, paid no penalty for what was done to those people, what those young men endured for all those years so that they could win football games and keep a reputation. Come on now. Come on. Jim Harbaugh is a saint in heaven. Long before anything that happened at Penn State, there is no way to defend it.
Yeah.
Penn State, and I'm sure that it tweaks people. Penn State should have no athletic history. It should be wiped from the record books.
Yeah.
Forever and ever. They should not be playing football. We should not be going there. There should not be full stadiums. They had statues. They still have record books. Those gentlemen's names have not been wiped from the history and the annals at Penn State. So I guess we can agree to disagree on it. You know, Aaron Wilson says Texas Tech. Come on, man. Are we really going to relive Mike Leach at Texas Tech? Like, relax.